All right, handicapping the Belmont Stakes. I was going to put this video out much earlier. I happened to look at the weather forecast. I saw there was a good chance of rain in the weather forecast. And then you had all these cards at Saratoga, and I got busy handicapping them. I've been betting them all. I'm comfortably ahead so far, but anyway, the weather forecast still looks like it's probably going to rain. The hourly forecast says about 6 o'clock, thunderstorms, rain. You should have a wet track just in time for the Belmont Stakes. Sorry for the delayed video here. We're going to start with the number 1 Vitruvian man, trainer Doug O'Neill, Antonio Fresu riding. This horse was third in the Santa Anita Derby last time. He was 47-1 in the Santa Anita Derby and got beat almost double-digit lengths with no real excuse. So Vitruvian man, he's a long shot in the race. He is owned by the rapper Lil Wayne. I mean, Lil Wayne's got probably like a 2.5% ownership of him. You know, in the New York Post and some of these publications, they've been running stories on that. So maybe he's going to take some money that he shouldn't take because he's owned by a rapper. But the 1 Vitruvian man is overmatched. Moving on to the number 2 Power Shift. And when I think of great rappers, my favorite rapper was Eazy-E, and my favorite Eazy-E song was Automobile, so there's our good transition into the 2 Power Shift. Power Shift last ran on the Kentucky Derby undercard. He ran in a maiden race. It was the first race on the card. He won it convincingly by 2 3/4 lengths. And the second race on that card was a good allowance race. A horse that was third to Renegade in the Arkansas Derby was off the board in the race, and the race went slower than Power Shift's maiden win. If you're really into speed figures, Power Shift's 95 speed figure for this maiden win, it was the same as the 95 that Golden Tempo got for winning the Kentucky Derby much later on in that card. Power Shift also got a faster Ragozin sheet figure for this maiden win than any horse in the Kentucky Derby did. So he did run 2 turns at Churchill Downs on the Kentucky Derby undercard, and he did get numbers at least as good on Byers and better on Ragozin. But obviously he was facing maidens that day. He wasn't running 1.25 miles, you know, with all the pressure on him. Had a nice outside post and handled maidens. This is a big step up here, quite obviously, but Power Shift's been training with Renegade all along. This is Renegade's workmate. And if you watch a couple of these workouts, you know, you'd have a hard time trying to figure out who the better horse is in these workouts. But all the workouts are 4 furlongs. Power Shift's a quick horse. 4 furlongs is no problem for him. Renegade wants to run as far as they write races. And Power Shift's obviously owned by Renegade's owner, Rapoli Stable, trained by Todd Pletcher, stablemate, workmate, and he's going to be in here to set a legitimate pace for Renegade. I definitely wouldn't call him a rabbit, though. Rabbits don't look this competitive on numbers generally. Generally, with a rabbit, you just got a cheap horse out there that's trying to set a fast pace. Power Shift's a lightly raced, very talented horse. And I like the rider change here to Luis Saez. Luis Saez is a pure speed rider, very strong, likes to go to the lead, and he is tough on front-running horses. If this Saratoga track on Saturday plays like it did on Wednesday they had a gold rail. Power Shift would be pretty darn tough if he caught Wednesday's Saratoga track. Now, I don't know how the track's going to play tomorrow. There is rain in the forecast, and it hasn't been quite as rail-friendly as it was on Wednesday. But Power Shift is going to the lead in this race. He's got a good speed rider. He's a lightly raced, talented horse. This is certainly a big step up, but I have seen crazier long shots than this one win, that's for sure. On to the number 3, Chief Wallaby, Belmont Jr. Alvarado. And Chief Wallaby, he's a horse that's got tactical speed, was first-time blinkers in the Derby, was training very well, had the best clocker grades going in, and has good clocker grades from this work here. But Chief Wallaby was all dressed up with nowhere to go in the Kentucky Derby. He broke clean, and Junior Alvarado, I thought, rode a smart race in the Derby. Broke clean, and he tried to follow Further Ado. Further Ado was the betting favorite. Look who the CAWs bet. The CAWs, they're not wrong too often. Their late money went on Further Ado in the Derby. And Further Ado is the kind of horse that makes big moves on the turn, so Chief Wallaby has that tactical speed, broke well, and Junior decided he was going to follow Johnny Velasquez on Further Ado. Well, I can't criticize that decision. I mean, it seems smart enough, but Further Ado had nothing in the race, was flat, and it left Chief Wallaby all dressed up with nowhere to go. There'll be some people who kind of nitpick his trip and say, well, he didn't get in as much trouble as some people think. Here's the reality of it. His tactical speed was wasted, and I don't blame the ride by Junior. I know exactly what Junior is doing. He was trying to follow Further Ado. Further Ado was flat the whole race. He got bunched up. He got bumped around the last eighth. When he finally got out, he finished well enough. He didn't finish as well as them closers, but he was like within 4 lengths of this hot early pace. The closers were back there in another zip code. So Chief Wallaby certainly ran a good race in the Derby. He was close to the pace. He has tactical speed. He was in hand. This is not a 20-horse field. Tactical speed is more of an advantage in this type of race than it is in a race like the Kentucky Derby, where in the Derby in recent years, it's just been the closer that gets the best trip, has been the horse that wins a lot of these Derbies. So Chief Wallaby, he's got that tactical speed, and he is an obvious contender in this race. On to the number 4 Renegade for Mike Rapoli, Todd Pletcher. Mr. Lowe also owns part of the horse. 6-5 the horse is right now. And that was the central question in the race is, how much were they going to overbet Renegade? I mean, I think Renegade is, if I'm being honest, the most likely winner of this race. If you were to do a percentage of each horse's chances to win, I think you'd have Renegade slightly the most likely winner of this race. And he did have some trouble early in the Kentucky Derby, some obvious trouble. Everyone saw it. But the Derby was a closers race. Closers run 1, 2, 3 in the race. And although closers finished 1, 2, 3, he had the worst trip of the 3 closers. So he was the best of the 3 closers in the Derby. The start before that, he was visually phenomenal in the Arkansas Derby. But you go horse by horse here, and we talked about this in our last video. Boy, this Arkansas Derby doesn't look quite as good as it did at the time. Everything that's run back in the Arkansas Derby's run back and done terrible. I think there's been like 4 horses that have run back out of the Arkansas Derby besides Renegade, and those other 4 horses he beat have all run terrible. So yes, Renegade is the most likely winner of this race, but at his current 6-5 odds, I don't want any part of him. Now we're moving along to the 5 and the 6, and these are 2 Chad Brown train runners. Before we get into discussing these 2 horses, I'll show you a quote of what Chad Brown had to say. This is from the Daily Racing Form. It says, coupled with the first 2 legs of the Triple Crown going to what Brown termed as unlikely winners is the impetus for him to run growth equity in the Belmont. Why don't I put a horse in there if it's in good form and there seems to be unlikely winners popping up, Brown said. So yeah, I don't necessarily agree with Brown there. I mean, Golden Tempo was my 3rd pick in the Derby, and we did call Napoleon Solo the most talented horse in the Preakness. He was my 4th pick. But hey, I wouldn't say those 2 were unlikely winners. I mean, I didn't pick him. I picked him 3rd and 4th. But anyway, on to Chad Brown's number 5. He was beaten 11 lengths by Further Ado in the Bluegrass. He's had some foot issues since that race, has been training in bar shoes. The bar shoe's going to come off for the Belmont Stakes. This horse is simply not good enough. He's got a closing running style. He's going to be back there with Renegade and Golden Tempo in the early stages of the race. And this horse cannot finish with either one. So I simply don't consider this horse a contender at all and want no part of him. On to another Chad Brown long shot, Growth Equity. And this one's also owned by Klarovich Stables, who owns Emerging Market as well. And Growth Equity took 3 starts to break his maiden. He finally broke it in his 3rd start at 10 cents on a dollar. He jumped up last time and won a weak Peter Pan Stakes at even money. There have been some pretty darn good additions to the Peter Pan over the years, and there have been some Peter Pan winners that have won the Belmont in their next start, but this was not one of those good additions of the Peter Pan. The one real good thing about Growth Equity being in this race, he's going to be forward early. Chad Brown's going to have Manny Franco use him for position early, and he's going to keep Power Shift kind of honest. He's going to be sitting second outside of Power Shift, And I'm happy that this horse is in this race because Power Shift is like, if Growth Equity wasn't in there, and then you got to wonder, like, what if Power Shift catches a track like we had on Wednesday? I mean, Power Shift loose on the lead with no pressure. Everyone thinks he's a rabbit. They're all, backing off, laying off on him. If he'd have caught a track like Wednesday, if they'd have run this race on Wednesday without Growth Equity in it, Power Shift might have won the damn thing. The Growth Equity is going to be forward in there. He's going to be used enough early so Emerging Market can drop in behind him. So Growth Equity I'm glad he's in here because it just makes it where I can feel comfortable not using Power Shift because Power Shift's a nice horse and he's lightly raced. Moving along to the number 7 Commandment for Brad Cox and Johnny Velasquez. This is Commandment's 4th different rider in his last 4 races and his 5th different rider in his last 6 races. Commandment's rider last time was Luis Saez, who is the rider on Power Shift. And one thing about Luis Saez, he is the best speed rider there is. If you need a horse to break the gate and go wire to wire, he's your rider. As far as him riding like deep closers, though, I mean, he's not the most patient guy. And you saw it with his ride in the Derby. These are the pace figures for Commandment. This isn't the leader's pace figures. This is Commandment himself as figures. And, you go back to the stake at Gulfstream on January. This was the Mucho Macho Man Stakes. 91, 91, 101, 104, 103. The Fountain of Youth Stakes. 115, 115, 113, 116, 115. The Florida Derby. 105, 103, 107, 111, 116. That was with Flavian Pratt. Now, Luis Saez is stronger than these guys, but he is not patient in 134, 128, 122. Commandment was too close to this pace in the Kentucky Derby. He did not need to be, like 6 lengths off the lead. And he's a horse with like a short stride and a quick action. And he's a horse that you could put on the rail. He loves it on the rail. He's tough. In the Derby, he was trying to go the overland route. He was trying to make a power move, stay close to the pace and pounce on the speed on the turn. And that really wasn't Commandment's style. That type of ride really didn't suit Commandment well. He needed to take back and make one run. And so if you do draw a line through the Derby, these races here look pretty darn good. But I just don't know if we're going to see it from Commandment, here. Johnny Velasquez, now Luis Saez is the speed guy. Johnny Velasquez's best ride is on stalkers. He's a great rider on horses that stalk the pace. This guy here is a speed rider. Saez. Pratt is just a brilliant tactician. Rod Ortiz, obviously a good versatile rider. Going into the Kentucky Derby, I simply believe I made a mistake, ignoring the fact that he's got a bit of a shorter stride and quicker action. And, I have seen plenty of horses like that over the years that could go 1.25 miles. And I think maybe I'm dismissing him too soon after he was, as we said, too close to a fast pace in the Derby. But even ignoring like how Commandment is physically, he is a closer. Yes, Luis Saez rode a bad race in the Derby. He just flat out rode a bad race. I mean, but that's Saez's style. But there's going to be far less pace in the Belmont here than there was in the Derby. And Commandment still has to go, 1.25 miles. Saratoga's not a real short stretch either. This is one that can beat me. If he beats me, he beats me. He's a very good horse. And if you excuse that Kentucky Derby performance, good Lord, is he tough in here. But I'm going to wait for Commandment to get into the type of race that I think suits his physical makeup. On to the number 8, Emerging Market for trainer Chad Brown, Klarovich Stables here. This horse beat Power Shift in his debut. At Tampa Bay Downs. Won the Louisiana Derby second time out over Golden Tempo. Had the 9-hole that day. The rail was kind of pretty good that day. Emerging Market had the 9-hole, was wide on both turns, got the job done. Golden Tempo, third, no excuse that day. Then his third start in the Kentucky Derby. Emerging Market's 8-1 in just his third start in the Kentucky Derby. 2.25 lengths back at the first call, 2.75 lengths back at the second call. Emerging Market was closer to the Derby pace early, really closer than anyone else that's in this race. And in this Kentucky Derby, Emerging Market, you see here, he's the horse here in the white and red, the Klarovich Stokes. He's got his back legs sticking out like he's trying to trip somebody here. But there was a lot of jostling into this first turn. And Emerging Market, when all this bouncing around was, he was kind of, in and among a wall of horses. He lost a front shoe somewhere right around this point here. And jockey Flavien Prat said coming out of the first turn, Emerging Market didn't feel like he normally does. He didn't feel like he was traveling like he does. So certainly with Emerging Market being so close to this fast pace early, it was a closer's race in the Derby. The horses that 1, 2, 3 finishers are way back here in another zip code. He's right in the hunt here, with his back legs sticking out, losing a front shoe, up near a hot pace. And the way Pratt rode him down the backside, I certainly buy into what he said, that he didn't feel like he was traveling like he normally travels. And if Emerging Market were to win the Kentucky Derby, he wouldn't exactly be the first horse to ever lose a front shoe in the Kentucky Derby and come back and win the Belmont. That's been done before. Nick Zito's Birdstone. Birdstone got beat 15.5 lengths by Smarty Jones in the Kentucky Derby, and it said shuffled and steadied a bit. And he lost a front shoe in the first turn in the race. In fact, he lost his front shoe right at about the same point of the race where Emerging Market did. And he managed to come back and, win the Belmont Stakes next time out, paid $74 to win. And yes, that was when the Belmont was 1.5 miles at Belmont. But he also did win the 1.25 miles Travers at Saratoga one start after that. And he paid 9-2 there. Like they doubted that this Belmont was legit, and Birdstone run even better in the Travers, 9-2 win. And boy, Nick Zito, what a guy Nick Zito was. This was the most personable. I used to go to Saratoga every meet when I was a kid, and one year I actually had to stay in Vermont and drive to Saratoga. There was another year where I stayed in the same house as Andy Serling. But basically, over the years, I've spent the entire meet at Saratoga numerous times. And when I was like 16, 17 years old, I'd always stay in one spot at Saratoga. They had you pay to get in, and then you go to like the clubhouse part, you got to pay again, and they have like this band there. They're like wearing these white and red pinstripes, and you go through the gate. And as soon as you go through the gate, you take a left. There's like this bank of like computers where you could watch replays, like pan and head-on replays of past races. And then above that, they've got some big screens. They got Saratoga on the big screen and some simulcast tracks on the other screens. And like that was my spot. And I would just like constantly watch replays. They had like all the replays for Saratoga, Belmont, Monmouth, Ellis Park, California tracks. And I'd have like a spiral notebook and I'd be scribbling notes into my notepad. And then when you had to bet a race, you just walk over to the right. There were tellers. If you wanted to walk into the paddock and look at some horses physically, just a quick walk that way. And like there was always this girl there that worked for Phil Serpy. She kind of had like a bandana. And there was like this guy that was always there that they said like would get the shoeing information for Ernie Dahlman. Ernie Dahlman was a big bettor. I didn't really talk to those guys too much. I just kind of mind my business, watch replays and take notes. And this is like during the AOL dial-up days. There really wasn't fast-speed internet at the time. Nick Zito here. Nick Zito was just the most personable guy. And I mean, I'm like 16, 17 years old at this time. And, this is in his heyday when he was in his prime, won a couple Kentucky Derbies. And he just kind of walked up to me one day and he just kind of like walks up to me out of nowhere and he says, I can't even do his voice. Like his voice is like, I don't know, maybe like not necessarily a smoker's voice, but it's kind of like strained. And he's like, he tells me, hey kid, you're the one that I need to be talking to. And he was just a real cool guy. He'd come every day, he'd come up and ask me about his horses. I mean, we didn't really talk about racing in general. It was more focused on his horses, but Nick Zito, just a great, great, great guy. The most personable trainer. Anyway, getting back to Emerging Market, he has that extremely impressive debut win. Second time out, he's 3 wide on both turns, wins the Louisiana Derby, beats Golden Tempo on the square. In his third start, he's the one that was closest to this pace in the Kentucky Derby, which was a closer's race. He lost the front shoe right about here. Got beat less than 8 lengths in the race. This is only his 4th start. There's so much upside here with Emerging Market, even though, if you're looking at numbers, it looks like it's going backwards here. But I think this is a horse who might run a breakout race, actually. And so I obviously consider Emerging Market to be a strong contender in this race. I saw that Ed DeRosa picks him. I'm a big Ed DeRosa fan, and one thing about Ed DeRosa, I really like that guy. That's a good guy, but I never agree with him on anything. And that gave me some that gives me more hesitation than probably anything else here. If Ed's going to take him, me and him are never on the same horse, and but it looks like we're going to be here. But that's the 8, Emerging Market. And on to the 9, Golden Tempo for Phipps Stable, Cherie DeVoe, Jose Ortiz. Golden Tempo was the one horse who clearly went forward on buyers in the Kentucky Derby. He was the closer that got the good trip, laid in the back, saved the ground through the first turn, made one move, one powerful sweeping move, and was able to get up in the final strides. I did pick him 3rd in that Derby, and I'm not even going to pick him in the top 3 in this race. He's just, even with that win, he's never run a 10 or better. He's never run a single-digit Ragozin figure. 10 is his career best in the Derby. And even his buyer figure in 95, not a quick horse. He does have powerful finishing kick, but a horse with a powerful finishing kick needs a pace to set him up. And I don't see much pace in here. Now, one thing I will say, though, anytime the pace looks obvious one way or the other, the jockeys are notorious for overcorrecting. And look what happened in the Preakness. There's 8 speeds in the race, and every jockey except for the horse that drew the rail, they're all trying to grab and rate and relax, and there's like 5 of them taking like horses whose only chance is to get to the lead, and they're wrestling them back, and some of them are good jockeys. Johnny V was one of them there. Hopefully Johnny V rides Commandment like he rode that horse in the Preakness for Dallas Stewart. How can you knock Johnny V, though? Johnny V has been one of the greatest for 20 years, but man, oh man. All I got to say is hopefully he rides Commandment like he rode the speed horse for Dallas Stewart in the Preakness. But that's the thing. This race doesn't look like a lot of speed on paper, and, the jockeys... One thing about the jockeys, they may not be able to read much more than comics in the racing form, but they can read comics and they can read the racing form, and they will overreact to pace scenarios sometimes. So roll the dice a little bit and have their horses a little closer than you expect to see them. But Golden Tempo is going to need some pace help, I believe. Yes, he got that win at 1.25 miles. This is 1.25 miles. This isn't a huge field, though, with all kinds of pace pressure. If Golden Tempo is able to win this race, I'll tip my cap. All right, so on to selections. My top pick's going to be the number 8, Emerging Market. My second selection is going to be the number 3, Chief Wallaby. My third pick's going to be the number 4, Renegade. 8-3-4 for me. Sorry for this video being as late as it was. It's first there's rain, then I got to bet all these Saratoga races, and if I'd been getting beat the last couple days, it would be like, man, I should have got that video out. But anyway, got the video out now. I've been drinking ever since the last race was run today. Junior Alvarado and Mott won on that turf horse. Hope you enjoyed it. Thank you for watching.